Hey there Pokemon fans, it is me Ovi, and today I want to bring you a creepy and odd theory, one that involves aliens and some mysterious old man. If you have played Pokemon Sun and Moon, you most likely have heard about the creepy old man in the desert, and perhaps you have even seen the mysterious event where he goes back to space. This was very strange, and with not much more information, we were just left baffled. But somehow I think I have been able to connect some dots, so hear me out. So bear with me for a minute. In order for you to understand this, I'm gonna have to come back full circle, but first we need to start in the Kalos region. Do you guys remember Mr. Bonding? You know, that old man that seems to always appear out of nowhere and just hand you out some O-powers? It was a nice little feature that I honestly didn't pay much attention to. For me, it was just a new gimmick. But if you try to find out what O-powers really are, there's not really much information, other than that they are composed of some sort of mysterious energy. Okay, but what does that have to do with aliens, you might be wondering? Patience, my boy, or girl. The truth will be revealed shortly. First, we need to understand the origin and creation of the perhaps many Mr. Bonding. I know that sounds weird, but you will understand. You see, the Mr. Bonding you met in Kalos was actually created by the old guys found in auras. They seem to be the original guys giving out O-powers. These men are Giddy, the hipster, the bard, the trader, and the storyteller. They fused with the powerless man in order to create the Mr. Bonding you met in Kalos. Apparently, these old men were looking to retire, and the hollow powerless man was the perfect candidate. Pretty creepy if you ask me. Now, in order to come back full circle, we need to go back to the weird old man in Pokemon Sun and Moon, and how he connects all the dots. First of all, he has lost all of his memories and claims to be Mr. something before he forgets. Many fans thought that this old man is Mr. Bonding, but his lines of text seem to disprove that. If you bring him a Lunatone/Solrock, he will regain his memories and gives us the information we need to make the connections. First, he thanks Lunatone and tells it not to worry about the star pulses that were bestowed upon him 30 years ago. He says, quote, "I entrusted them to a group of wonderful men." This is an obvious reference to the old man found in auras that we just talked about. Then he says he can go back home to space. We will get back to this in a minute. I want to add that I came to the conclusion that he's referring to the old man from auras also because of the statement he makes the first time you meet him. Quote, "I am just the ashes left behind. What remains when everything has been given?" End quote. Just how the old man passed their powers to the hollow powerless man that became the Mr. Bonding you know, this creepy old man from Sun and Moon seems to be the original Mr. Bonding that passed on his powers too. But what are O-powers and where are the aliens? So here's where my theory begins. Let me be blunt. I believe that O-powers are composed of the same space virus that created Deoxys. Whoa, where did that come from? Well, here's where that comes from. According to the Pokédex, both Lunatone and Solrock were discovered 40 years ago at the site of a meteor crash. This is why many within the Pokemon world theorize that they came from outer space. Deoxys has been seen approach the Earth in a meteor, and there is no denying that many consider it an alien Pokemon. Plus, its many forms are affected by meteors. So here's where it gets interesting. A virus requires a host. When the old man says, "I know now how to get back home to space," what if this was actually the virus that came from space speaking? Yes, what I'm saying is that the virus infected parts of the meteor that became Solrock and Lunatone. They came across this old man and passed on the virus to him. From there, it has been passed on to the old man from auras and finally to the Mr. Bonding you know. Think about it, O-powers affect many aspects and more specifically stats. Just how Deoxys has a speed form or an attack form when it comes into contact with a contaminated meteor, there are also O-powers that enhance those stats as well. Or Ovi is going nuts and he's having too much coffee again. I'm just gonna leave it here because it just becomes a huge conspiracy. I just wanted to point out my findings and similarities between the O-powers and Deoxys forms, as well as the hint we got as to the connection with aliens. There was a lot of information here, so if I missed or overlooked anything, don't forget to share that in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, Pokemon fans.